Благодаря още веднъж, успешна работа днес и сега с удоволствие предоставям думата на посланника на Съединените американски щати, госпожа Herro Mustafa. Заповядайте, Herro.
Good morning to all of you, and thank you, Dr. Shentov, dear Ognian, for the welcome. Mr. Beckman-Dirkes, Professor Maddox, distinguished panelists and participants, it is a pleasure to be here with all of you today to mark the completion of CSD's project Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction and Hybrid Threats in Bulgaria. I'd like to begin by congratulating CSD and the entire team for the work that you have conducted over the past year that has led up to the unveiling of your brilliant policy brief on countering hybrid threats in Bulgaria and this conference. I can't overstate the importance of this program, of this discussion that we're having here today. In the wake of the Kremlin's illegal and unprovoked war in Ukraine, Bulgaria has been one of the biggest targets for Russian malign narratives, particularly online. And just quoting from the report, the policy brief put together by CSD, Southeast Europe remains the most vulnerable region to such hybrid threats in Europe, particularly Bulgaria. Since February 2022, the Kremlin has intensified its disinformation campaign. Bulgaria's gaps in operational and technical preparedness and capacity to counter weapons of mass destruction related hybrid threats has been compounded by state and media capture and political instability. And this is part of the policy brief put together by CSD. We in the United States obviously also know a lot about Russian disinformation, and it's important that we, together with our allies, be prepared to defend against hybrid threats and bolster our citizens' resilience to malign influence. Again, this is not a new phenomenon. For decades, Russia and others have used WMD disinformation to deceive the public, to undermine faith in our institutions, stoke fear, and divide societies. CSD is one of our strongest partners in this fight against these threats over this past year, along with the State Department Bureau of International Security and Non-Proliferation. We've got participants from Washington who are here with us today. CSD has organized training sessions across Bulgaria, Plovdiv, Varna, Sofia, getting representatives from important Bulgarian state and academic institutions, and training our partners in the important knowledge that they need to counter WMD hybrid threats and disinformation. And I know that although this project ends today with this policy brief, the work of CSD on this front is just beginning, frankly, and they'll continue with the training, they'll continue with the outreach, travel to Romania as well to strengthen those ties, because as we know, we can't work on these issues alone. Any country can't work on these issues alone. And the United States is also very proud to have been working with the Bulgarian government as well on strengthening our resilience and our preparedness. We have organized tabletop exercises. Last year, we had representatives from the Balkan region here, again, so that we could coordinate what our response might be, how to detect preventive measures. And then this year in September, we had an interagency team from the Bulgarian government, again, to follow through on these measures that are so critical. What I appreciate most from this report that CSD has drafted is your reference to the multi-layered approach to combating these threats. And I know we'll hear more about this. It isn't just government, right? You can't just rely on governments to counter these threats. And again, just in quoting from your own paper, building resilience to these hybrid threats requires, in this region, EU and NATO coordination. Need to make sure that the message is the same and the approach is the same across the region. You need resilient institutional and digital security infrastructure, preventive measures, which is not just counterintelligence and counterterrorism, but enhancing media literacy and public campaigns so that they are also sensitive to the social manipulation that happens, so fact-checking, and enforcing regulatory compliance to promote the transparency of media ownership and funding. So from civil society to the media, to the government, to the international, it is a multi-layered approach. For us, you've heard President Biden say that our alliance is the strongest foundation on which our collective security and our shared prosperity can be built. And you have heard me say many times, the United States and Bulgaria are friends, partners, and allies. And this is not just in the field of energy independence, military modernization, rule of law, deepening our trade and investment ties. It's also building resilience to malign influence. And I believe that disinformation is going to be one of the biggest challenges facing all of us in this decade to come. So again, thank you to CSD, thank you to the State Department colleagues who have traveled from Washington here to Sofia to be with us and who have worked with CSD and with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation this past year. I am confident that today's discussion will further strengthen our ability to defend our societies against these uniquely dangerous threats. Thank you.